Well, good morning. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic, Bill. So happy to be here with you.
So glad for you to be here. This is Brothers Corn and Isaac and Thorold, and very excited to actually have you here for our convention. We heard you sing last night, and how was your first experience with our team?
Well, electric. Just the vibe in the room. We stepped in like midway through the awards and just felt not just the vibe, the culture, the community, the culture you guys are building just felt like rock and roll. Like it felt excited. It felt like everyone was leaning into what's next.
And it felt like a family. We were walking into a big family event.
Yeah, thank you, because that's exactly what we say. We do life differently. We're just not like that normal company. We are a family. Yeah. And if you saw, a lot of kids were there too today or last night.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there was.
We've actually been thinking, God, our kids would love it here.
Yeah, seriously.
Next time you got to come for sure.
Yes, for sure. Did mention it, so thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So most people don't know who you are. So tell us a little bit about you and how you got to where you're at, and take it for as big or as small as you'd like to go.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we started we're brothers. Firstly, that's the obvious part. We were always partnering up. We like to say partners in crime.
Yeah.
It wasn't always crime.
I understand.
It was cricket. I was Isaac's a few years older than me, so he was the bowler, I was the batter. We used to make home movies. He was the director, I was the star of the movie.
Nice.
And we're generally trying to model like 90s versions Cops, because that was a big show in Australia
I found,
at the time.
as a director, he always made a good bad guy, a lead bad guy.
But always disheveled bad guy, like, where's my drugs?
But naturally talented.
Yeah. So we teamed up early, and I think we were always creative together. And after our mother sort of seemingly overnight left our dad, which was a big family trauma for us. Why such a trauma? We knew no one that had ever been divorced.
Oh, wow.
And our mum, almost overnight after we came back from a trip, had a change of heart. It was as if something had shifted in her. Long story short, she ended up 2 years later relocating. This is like pretty much right as the internet was being born, late late 90s. Yeah. She left to New York City from Australia. Okay. And so we kind of went our separate ways for a moment, and both separately followed her to New York and became American immigrants. And then we met back up, and we had actually discovered in our time apart that we'd both gotten into music.
I kind of got into music as a release valve or a safe space in this moment that Tara was talking about, when kind of, I was going to be a lawyer, I was studying, I was top of my class, and the eldest, feeling the pressure of that subconsciously and consciously perhaps. And just, I've always been, that kind of person, just going for a goal. And I kind of got derailed. And in that moment, I found music that said, it was just kind of very subtly, come over here and experience something that's in you. And I heard a voice in my head. It just said, simply, you will sing. And I don't know what that was. Wow. I guess I'm going to assume it was God talking to me.
Sure.
And I resisted it, of course, as I must have, and just continued to study. Got into, college, but music kept calling me. And it was this one moment. Our dad was getting remarried, and I'd been in a couple of bands, high school bands, and he'd been studying music. And we looked at each other. What do you get your dad for his second wedding? Teenage kids.
Yeah.
It was an awkward question.
Yeah, absolutely.
To pose each other, because it was layered with all kinds of emotions that we hadn't unpacked personally or
certainly
together.
not together.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was a vulnerable question. We said, I think it may have been me. Said, well, you're a musician and I write songs now. Why don't we write him a song?
Yeah. It was pretty wild. And
so we got in the bathroom.
It was like 2 days before the wedding, and we came up with this song this whole night. This 7-minute, like very Simon and Garfunkel, dead harmonies, like very beautiful.
Oh, that's awesome.
And keyword 7 minutes.
7
minutes.
An
issue for when we got invited to sing at the wedding. Dad was looking at his watch 5 minutes in, going, "You've got to be kidding me."
Yeah. He went from tears to first 2 minutes.
Yeah.
To like, I'm paying for these the reception. You got to hurry this up. I've only got a 2-hour window.
But we heard harmony that was a sum that was greater than the parts. And I think this is what you're creating too. Is like, if you can get harmony in a group, there's a multiplier effect that takes hold.
And harmony's not actually the two notes that are pleasing together. Harmony is the space between the notes too, right? We
That's
sometimes
great.
only measure the sound, but are we even measuring the way we can receptively, honor the space between us, right?
Yeah.
We're reading the space between us. And we were always doing that, and once we started to sing together, we really started to do that. And it became this feeling of, well, we can't not do this. So we're in New York City. We have a place. We had the privilege of a place to crash because our mum was living in Manhattan. We were Australian, which was exotic back then, which is white and English speaking and still interesting.
If we ever
Australians
got
aren't
pulled
as
over by
interesting
the
now.
police, I'd bring out the didgeridoo and
We would.
my biggest Australian accent.
Yeah,
Say,
look, mate.
sorry,
Oh,
sorry,
mate.
officer.
We usually
I
drive
didn't
on
know.
the
In
other side of the
Australia, we
street.
drove at about 200 miles an hour or whatever
Sorry,
that
mate.
is in kilometers.
Yeah.
And he'd let us
That's
off.
brilliant.
And he'd take a CD and he'd ask for a signature.
We actually do
Yeah.
have some old video footage of us doing that.
And we won't put you through
in
that.
Georgia, and by the end he was like, "Man, you got a Sharpie to sign the?" And he wanted us to sign it. He was like, "You got to have a Sharpie if you're going to get
that's
big,
great.
guys." So we had a pretty amazing about 15-year pursuit at what we now can look at and say, success often takes. Always takes, I should say. Tenacity, relentlessness was a word coming up yesterday.
Yes.
It takes naivete and conviction. Maybe, I don't know about in equal measure, but at least to have the gumption to get going. And we had a very, very small, humble vision, which was, well, we can sing together. Why don't we become the next biggest band in the world? Surely success is only a couple of weeks away. We had
Exactly.
we had that kind of conviction, and it gave us the impetus to be bold. And Isaac was really great at that bold sort of promoter style idea. He was like, I'm just going to call the knitting factory and say we're a promoter, we'll give it a name, we're going to say we're going to book this band that brings 200 people, and the people opening will be us. Like, we were coming up with all these
great.
ideas.
Yeah.
But we got going, and over the course of the first few years, honestly, we went through any open door. We played some really random things, ended up from open mics to headlining the bitter end to the next place, touring regionally. We just always were looking for the next moment, just leaning into this dream, which was a very, hard on sleeve approach to, pop melodic rock music. And it took us all the way 15 years later to being signed on a major label. We ended up on Interscope with Jimmy Iovine. We ended up touring with Coldplay, Pink, Rod Stewart, Bon Jovi. We had this really, we had it obviously everywhere we'd go, we'd play to 300 to 500 people, gold record in Australia and New Zealand. And after all of that constant just motion, we just started to have this new gut feeling, to be honest. That's the best way to say it. And we were hoping for a little bit more love at the label level. I mean, not every band finds their right time, right place to become Coldplay. We didn't become Coldplay. We became a band that opened for Coldplay. So about that level. But in the middle of that pursuit, Bill, we started to feel this other call. And this is really hard to do in any business, in any life, that sometimes you're in the middle of continuing to pursue something that's been calling you, but the call shifts. And can we have the bravery to listen? Because it might be taking you to that next most important place.
I agree.
And that's how it came through for us. It came through as this shared gut feeling, which was, what if we relocate and start to foster and nurture other voices to the forefront? What if we became someone's brothers and help them look inside themselves for the music and the song and the voice within them? So this was now 2014, 15, and we relocated to Los Angeles to do that very thing. And that brings us to our last 10-year history, which was in the middle of this LA writing experience. We recognized that we weren't meant to be pursuing the music industry. Instead, this new idea came to us. What if we offered a multi-month experience for someone at the self-development level? What if we came in as coaches of human development, not even just for music, song, voice, for people wanting to pursue music as a career, but what if we came in at the human level, all walks of life, and helped them unpack who they were, looking in the creative reflective mirror of having us to do that with, through voice, through music, through song. And so this is us 10 years later. We've been so grateful, so lucky to guide private people, groups, courses, facilitate workshop, and work at the company corporate level now, where seeing how music, song, and voice can become that elixir, that missing badass rock and roll piece that can bring people to that next level of success in their life too.
Let's be honest, we had no idea when starting that, you know, 3/4 of the population have glossophobia or have no confidence or trust in their own voice when in public, to be able to say who they are, resonate with their personality, right? A little over 60% of people feel like their upward mobility in their career is limited by their relationship to their voice. There's a lot of people that feel like if they could just become more confident, then, you know what I mean? That's what they're feeling. You know, and 1 in 3 people, this creativity gap, 1 in 3 people don't even feel creative at all. That means they're not in touch with the creator.
Wow.
Right? That means that 1/3 of the people haven't acknowledged that their gift as a species is to be creative, to make choices.
Wow.
Yes and no is a creative act.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right? So, like you were saying before, like every choice you make has an impact and is, you know, is seen and heard. So, we had no idea we were dabbling in this. And so when we go into companies, you know, who are looking to engage their family, their culture, not to make everyone the same, but to strengthen people's differences so that we can find this symbiotic, collaborative, you know, multiplier effect that happens when we are standing firm in who we are, confident, courageous, trusting our voice to sound out our next greatest idea, because if we don't, it's never going to get heard. And the company loses that on their balance sheet.
That's
so,
true.
You know, this is us.
Boy, there's a lot to unpack here. And first off, it's fantastic. Thank you for sharing your story. I did not know most of that. That's great. Speaking about you guys coming together, just talk for you guys. Were you guys always close, or did you get closer as you got older due to this, you know, the second marriage for your father and the love of music?
Well, I would say we got closer by moving, you know, into a relationship that wasn't just based on being brothers, but choosing to pursue a mission together. You know, I think our rock band mission was a crusade, which is a whole other conversation. And you know, sometimes it's a time for a crusade. Sometimes it's a time to put down the sword and yield what's there for you, more of a mission. And I think we've experienced so much of that. Like if this was it, and we went us into separate missions, like, wow, what an incredible partnership we've had. It just so happens that we wake up and we share a mission still, and we don't take that for granted, maybe the least for granted ever. And we've just kind of pushed and pulled on each other up the road in this way that where we have such similarity, synergy, but we have such complement. And I think we've learnt now in our, you know, early 40s that after all these years of partnering up, that it's not about competing and comparing to be the same. It's about finding that synergy, even the rub. I mean, because if you look at music, like a little bit of rub in a chord makes a beautiful, colorful chord. So it's more about how do you actually see each other, hear each other, and reflect each other back toward a vision with mobility. And when we start to do that, we start to listen, and we start to actually team up and move the ball down the court in a whole new way. And so I think it's just we've strengthened our friendship.
Yeah, I think our compatibility is in our difference.
So you mentioned something that's really interesting about salespeople. So I've noticed that when you're in sales or you're in anything that has to deal with people to people, there's a line of communication, and it's usually through words. Part of your body language, which is confidence, most of it's read through your body. They say that 93% of all communication is tonality and your body, what your body movement. Not your words that you're using, which means that it leads into the voice, the song that you have. And let me take it one step further. Is I've noticed that when you're in some type of interpersonal interaction, there's a song that you sing. It's called a cadence. I know when I was playing football, I was a quarterback. My voice, it was the cadence. It wasn't necessarily just the words I was saying. It was the cadence in which I said it. Same thing in sales. So there's a cadence of how you deliver the story of the product, or the story of what your value add is. Have you found that to be, because you talked about companies and people that 9-month journey. Is that real, or is that just me going, I'm reaching for something?
Very real.
100% real.
It's very real. I mean, we look at the voice in a simple sense, where it's actually very complex, but so simple. I think the great things are both profoundly simple and simply profound.
Yeah.
This is one of them. The voice we see as 50% expressive, which is the part that we talk about, we celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
To us, it means to be truly in your embodied expressive voice, we must come home to the body, A. B, we must allow what wants to bubble up past our lips to be sounded out with the least inhibition possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the 50% of our expressive part. That's what we talk about when we say, confidence, voice,
Yeah.
sharing how you feel with respect to the space.
Sure.
But the part that's least talked about is the 50% of our receptivity. We call it listening, but it's more than just listening. It's the way in which we are drinking in the experience of the moment, right? The way in which we're, quite honestly, holding space.
Mm-hmm.
Like, while actually being with each other. So it's a beingness. And so 50% of the voice is receptivity, the space between the words. The pauses where we're actually really finding correlation with what someone's sharing so that we can take a little piece of what we can relate to and the moment.
Yeah.
And that shows up in the greatest sales moments of all time, of course.
Yeah, would you say, like, as a master salesman, would you say your listening or your speaking is either one of them more important? Or
No, I was going to say it actually is. It's 50-50. It really is 50-50
Yeah.
because I'll even use it from a perspective of seeds. And they say words, they either can breathe life or they can breathe death. They're seeds.
Yeah.
Many people throw their seeds at people. They just throw it in instead of planting them and trying to make sure they land correctly. That's all in cadence. And to your point, it's the fact that you're expressing it, but you're also paused to listen to see, is it landing where it needs to land? That's very interesting. I didn't think of it that way.
It's huge. And many people are waiting just to speak next.
Yeah.
And there's such an incredible missed opportunity there, because what we're really doing with each other beyond ecology, beyond product service, is we're looking to relate. And at the end of the day,
So
the food group, we call it a food group. What shows up in the voice is this deep need for every human being, no matter where they are in their life, to be seen, to be heard, and to be reflected back. And that's the part, I think, that really is unlocked with what we get to do with people around voice and how song and music helps hold that voice. What we discover is that when we actually are seen, heard, and reflected back, we then bring ourselves to the forefront of our lives. We feel supported to then take risks, to then find that rebel yell, to then revolutionize the moment, right? But we actually need to feel safe enough to take risks, at all levels, right?
Yeah.
And so those
the
parts
company
come
of
out.
it's known as psychological safety, and it's not kumbaya in the sense that it's the creating the rules of the road, like where we can be our most courageous self.
Got it.
It's like creating the container so that we don't have to play nice. We can actually take the gloves off.
Yeah.
Because we know that there's safe words. We know that there's a safe space around this group.
Interesting.
Yeah, you go safety first, then brave space, playful space follows. Do you know what I mean?
You are bringing back some memories of a speaker. His name is Benjamin Zander, and he was a very famous conductor. And I can't remember which orchestra he was a conductor, whether it was New York or Philadelphia, but he was a very famous conductor. And I was fascinated because he said he was a piano player, and he came on up and played a piano, and he said, "Are you a one cheeker or two cheekers?" He goes, "If you're two cheeks, you're just ready, you're so rigid. But if you're one cheeker, you're into the music and you're flowing on one cheek to the other cheek." And then he said, "Everybody can sing, and everybody has a voice and is creative.
Nice.
All you have to do is express it." And he said, "So let me give you a song that everybody can sing." And he says, "Let's sing Happy Birthday." And everybody knows Happy Birthday. And then he says, "Who wants to volunteer to sing Happy Birthday?" Nobody raises their hand. I happen to be in the first row. He picks me. And I come on up there and he says, "Sing Happy Birthday." And I sing it just to sing it. And he says, now the song is Happy Birthday to you. Then you go up, Happy Birthday to you. Then to crescendo, and then it's a Happy Birthday to Isaac, Happy Birthday.
Yeah.
And I said, "Sing it now the way you're supposed to." And then he says, "Can you do it a little better?" And he did it 3 times. And what I found is each time I did it, I could get more confident that I had more in me. I had a different level, and it was either a little bit louder with more confidence, or it was a little higher in my voice or my pitch, or it was even a little lower in my pitch. And it was interesting. I thought, I don't even know how the heck to sing, but I could sing. And what was interesting about that, to your point, is that when I started to sing, and all of a sudden I realized he's got it. He can go one more level.
That's it.
And all of a sudden, that reflection back gave me immense confidence. And then if I take it into the business world, when I have my song that I'm singing about our company and telling my story, the more I told it, the more it resonated. And when it didn't resonate, I knew, you know what, maybe I'm telling it incorrectly. So I would then change the tune a little bit. And all of a sudden then, when people now know me, I've told my story enough times, excuse me, that they could tell my story. They can sing my song.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've told it so many times now. And it's interesting, to your point, most people don't know how to bring it out.
They don't know how to sing their song if the song is inside them. The song is literally waiting under their rib cage. Do you know what I mean? Or multiple songs, the whole soundtrack of their life. You know what I mean?
So true.
Because we are often taught, particularly by a lot of the media, to think that what we're looking for is out here.
Yeah.
Everything's out there. But the world can come to us when we're centered and listening.
Without a doubt.
I love that. I feel like what we could do is just briefly take that happy birthday model, which we use in a different way, one step further. But the one thing I wanted to say about your experience with it was someone had requested you. And so a huge part about voice and how it shows up in all moments of business is we often forget the power of request. Right, requesting each other in little ways, not like big ways under threat, but little requests. So you got a pretty nice request front row, and you were like, you felt okay, I got to say yes to this. So up you went.
Yeah, that's very true.
And then suddenly you were requested again to sing Happy Birthday, and then suddenly you were reflected back. Okay, go to the next level.
Given some feedback.
Some feedback. Yeah. So you were being seen, heard, and reflected back, and suddenly you're like, oh, I see the door, I see the pathway. Yeah. And so it's amazing when we are requested to dare to suck, is what we call it. Our methodology is called daring to suck. Yeah. That once we are in and recognize that we're not going to die. I know that came up yesterday. Yes. Craig was like, do or die, meaning no one ever died from selling insurance that we know of.
Yes,
that's true. It's either you do it or you don't. Right. And it's such a nice distinction. Well, daring to suck is the same thing. We're getting past that part of our biology for long enough for us to reframe to ourselves that it's okay when we go beyond the part of us that says stop. And this shows up in sport all the time.
Always.
I'm an amateur triathlete, and at different moments, your body goes, okay, I'm going to send as many pain receptors as possible to just be like, are you sure you shouldn't stop?
Yeah, that's right.
But that means when it's getting good, right? And I'm sure you experienced that in sport.
Absolutely. And I've had the same experience in triathlon since that you crack and you just keep going through it. If you don't, you're dead.
Exactly. So I love to that point. We'll swing back and maybe we could reframe Happy Birthday in a moment in a new way.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That sounds really good. There's so many different ways we can go with this. So I want to talk. We'll take it one way, and if then we have an opportunity to go to the other. Our company is designed around financial fitness, physical fitness, and a lifestyle to enjoy it. There's a song just in what I just said. FinFit Life, the financial fitness, physical fitness, lifestyle, enjoy it. I realize that as I say that, I even move my hands the same way. It becomes a rhythm in which we say it. I also found that the way that people live their life, if they don't have proper disciplines, they live out of rhythm. Just, we were talking about being on the same page with our spouses and things that sort before we started our conversation. People have that same thing, just about the rhythm of the discipline of saving money, discipline of thinking about themselves from a financial standpoint, or the rhythm of getting in physical shape. Yeah. As you talked about triathlons, and what's the rhythm? Most people think, I have to become a triathlete to be in shape, and sometimes it's just a rhythm of, hey, every day we're going to walk for 10 minutes. Or, when I get up in the morning, I have a routine. I go work out, but it started off where I'm just going to do 10 push-ups. That rhythm of starting to do something. Have you found, as you're coaching people, especially in companies, are you finding that to be a practical way of using music to help people do that?
100%. And, by the way, FinFit Life is a triplet, right? And so you were doing these like cool triplet patterns and that cadence. The three parts. I mean, good things come in threes. So But yeah, I think when people are resistant to the creative process, a lot of the times we work with people that haven't put creativity in their life, haven't given themselves that permission.
Yeah.
And they think that their life is about more just nuts and bolts, being practical, getting stuff done, all doing, no being, right? And so this kind of creative is part of their being life. It's not the only thing you can do to be, but it's a good one way is to be playful and to accrue little, pieces of creative capital that can take 2 minutes of your day to, stop what you were doing and have an experience of your playful side, right? Creative, that could be in written form, vocal form, or just, experience. Prayer, it could be prayer even.
Yeah.
How can you kind of sink deeper into that kind of part of you that doesn't necessarily have an expectation of the outcome? And so, we ask people to get into these creative rhythms where they're experiencing, the creative flow for 2 minutes at a time and breaking up their patterns so that they're interrupting, for that outcome.
Well, I love what Isaac's saying, and to answer your question deeper, we often forget to just lean on our practices, lean on our routines, which are rhythmic cadences, 100%. So is there music in discipline and just forming habits and behaviors that serve us toward where we want to head? And what we discover shows up in music, song, and voice all the time is that voice is a vulnerable place. Stepping in, saying, I'm gonna encourage myself to finally use my voice in ways I never have. Even I'm going to live out a part of me that's always dreamt of singing. These bring up vulnerability. So we need to lean on little routines as best we can. So one thing that we recognize over coaching people over, especially the last decade, is that it's almost always best to not think and just do until our body realizes we're okay to do it. And so in a way, it's doing and being. It's both and sometimes we just, before we even think, I just got to start singing. Before we even think, we've just got to hit voice record and start sharing, like singing a melody as we take a little walk in the morning. Before we reflect how good we're doing, we do a couple actions just to get the ball rolling. Because as we can see in the philosophy of music, what we continue to do, we become entrained with, and our body, our biology gets used to doing it. We start to form a new belief by the little practices that we do before overthinking. And so I think we're stuck in an overthinking culture. There's so many options, so many variables, so much. We're so inundated and overwhelmed by schedules and content and events, and sometimes we can just carve out these little few-minute moments to retrain and entrain ourselves back.
Cadence helps us create these positive habits, right? If we have the cadence and it's consistent, then it becomes a habit. We don't have to think. We can bring more of our being into the action.
Absolutely.
So you don't know this, but I played trumpet all the way from 4th grade through high school. And unfortunately, I haven't picked it up much after that, and my lips are mush, so I'm not very good at it. And I could play anything that had a mouthpiece, French horn to tuba, trumpet, etc. And what's interesting, one of the hardest songs was this. It was called the Trumpet Trampoline, and it was this very rhythmic, very offbeat, but it was very stark, boom, boom, boom. And if you didn't practice it, you were going to miss the beat. And I find that many people, in almost everything that you do, if you don't practice it, you have a problem. Because many people want to play, but they don't want to practice. And I've noticed it in golf. Everyone's, hey, let's go play some golf, They go, man, I totally stink. Well, if you just maybe spent an hour practicing before you went and played, you'd probably be better. And it's the same thing in business or in sales. If you just practiced, and what I did early in my career, in my learning the overview of the company, I would go into the bathroom and I would watch myself give that presentation over and over again. And my wife used to think I was crazy. Who are you talking to in there? Are you on the phone? You're crazy. And I was a little bit, but I remembered in sport and in playing the trumpet that if I didn't practice, when it was time for me to play, I was going to suck. I was going to be bad. And I didn't want to be bad. I wanted to win.
Yeah.
And how do you use this? Because you talked about disruption, so I want to go into that.
Yeah.
How are you disrupting people? How does this practice that you're doing disrupting people to say it's okay to practice and it's okay to fail? One last thing. Has social media ruined that? Because it seems like everything that we do is in the public, rather than, I know, like for me, I could go to the bathroom and I could practice, but nowadays you might even have someone that's filming it. Hey,
exactly.
Look at this knucklehead in the,
practicing.
Exactly. He stinks. And then, who is it? And I open the door and now you're in public.
Yeah.
Have you found that to be that fear moving forward? But there's a whole bunch here to unpack, so I'm going to just lay it on the table and say,
It's a lot.
go where
There's
you want to
so
go.
much.
There's so much. Oh man. Well, firstly, we're all exhausted. Meaning, as a culture, I think we're exhausted from performance.
Yeah.
Performance. I don't mean high performance and success. I mean performing.
Yeah.
And
Inauthentic
sometimes we look at
expression,
high performance. Sometimes we go into a company and their theme is like high performance. You're like, but real performance is finding a pathway back home to yourself, finding a new friendship and relationship to actually being yourself, and then gathering new practices from there. What we see occurring is that people are practicing performing and presenting and basically presenting and performing a part of themselves that's not the full them. And that's what's exhaustive. And of course it's limiting, right? There's a ceiling to how well you can do when you're just articulating a character or aspect of yourself. As we say, like, as in working in life, it's like, well, no, there's a human being at the core.
That's right.
And I think what we really are seeing is when a human being finally integrates and forms a new friendship with being themselves, and then we call it voice positive gathering, as we gather new experiences being ourselves in our work and show up as ourselves in powerful ways, sound out who we are, listen our ass off, of course, and start to collaborate and really play together at our best. Innovation starts to happen, and we start to then practice in ways that lead to our greatness, not just an excellent performance of ourselves, right? That's our big passion for us.
Yeah, I would agree that the leaders that have the most success are not ones that seem like they're fake. We want to believe in, and sometimes it's their flaws or their humanity that we love the most about them, and that we can trust them, because they're like us.
Yeah.
Right. So leaders, we see it all the time because we work with a lot of leaders that hide behind the feeling like the pressure that they have to be perfect in the eyes of everyone around them, that they have to look good, that they have to be the example. They also need to be the example that they're fallible and they're human. Otherwise, no one's going to rally behind them.
Well, not for years and years and years.
Unless it's out of fear.
Yeah.
So, I think if you want to, the leaders that we find are that are themselves on social media. They're not trying to prove anything to themselves or others outside of what they're already, what they're already doing in that moment. And to go back to what you said, I think that practice is key. And then in the moment that you are in front of people doing the thing, you have to throw it all away and dare to suck. And if you're attached to getting it right in the moment that it counts, then that's going to be an impediment, Because singing, for example, we like to associate it with walking, right? When we were learning to walk, we didn't associate failing with failure.
Yeah, that's
We
so
didn't
true.
say, oh, I failed, I'm a failure.
Right.
We just got back up and started walking. So, if that can be applied to the sales process, for example, okay, I made a mistake. Am I a failure? No, I just failed that time, and I'm going to win next time. You know what I mean? How does it affect your mentality? And so we give people an experience. We bring people into a space where it's okay to fail.
That's very good.
And we always find that they succeed.
Can we unpack that further? I mean, we could talk about this for hours. This is the core of what we do with people. So, to me,
can you put it through the filter of leadership? Because you
Yeah,
brought up
absolutely.
leadership, and I wanted to talk about because
leaders.
this is what's
Absolutely.
interesting. Is when I have two sides to this leadership question. I'd like you to unpack from there. First is many times as you're practicing, you will repeat the same mistakes over and over again unless you have somebody that's actually coaching or listening to give you feedback. Because I can tell you, I think I'm the greatest person in the whole wide world all the time. At least that's human nature, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm okay, or I'm totally the opposite. I'm totally the worst, but I'm the best at something.
Yeah.
I'm the best at the best, or I'm the worst at the worst.
Yeah.
And until I get feedback, I can't really truly improve. So that there's a leadership piece of that, being open and a receptive. But then the second part of leadership is what you were just talking about. You unpack that a little deeper of what does that mean in a person's life and how does that come out? I want to hear those things from you.
Yeah. Well, you know, we see there's a nuance here that's kind of it's deeply dimensional, and it's kind of all or nothing in a way. It's our positioning. So to Isaac's point, to really tap that part of you, we have to give up projecting ourselves. And this is a big one.
Agree.
And this is not an easy thing to say. The word projection can show up in many ways. If I'm sitting here, Bill, and I'm with you and I'm with Isaac, and I'm being led by the motivation that I really hope you like me. And I hope I've been a good idea to come to Inspire 2025. And I want to make sure I look good and sound good over anything else. If that's my priority, I'm always going to be projecting and performing and presenting just an aspect of myself. There's no question.
Makes sense.
If my priority is to do that, I am accidentally, good intentioned, projecting. But if I can not give that up, but if I can just put that to the side and promote something else, which is my actual desire to be here and have an effect on this moment as best I can, to show up with myself and be willing to have an experience with you. As soon as I'm here and I come back into my body and go, okay, who I am and how it feels to be me right now with you, listening and sharing how I feel and adding, something magnificent occurs every time. We call it injection. And when we are willing to be with each other and injecting, sharing, listening from that place, and we gather practices here, we call it gathering voice positive experiences together. And from that comes innovation to us. From that comes natural disruption, natural shift, natural change, because we're suddenly actually just in the present moment, listening to what the moment needs. We're not performing, we're not projecting what we think we need to say to look good, sound good. Instead, we're prioritizing how we feel. And I think most people in the world, most people that we work with, they're all good people. Like, we want the best for each other most of the time, especially when we put aside just slightly competition and comparison for long enough to prioritize actually moving the ball up the road together. Something magnificent happens. So that was experience over performance.
And I love that. And I love what you said, like, because you are great, right? You are the greatest at being you. And the opportunity here is for leaders is that every single human, at least that we've gotten to see, even, and sometimes especially when they don't see it in themselves, are fascinating and interesting and great. And so the role of the leader is to find that in themselves always, and then to see it in others and to bring it out in others, right? Because you're looking for that little drop of the ocean, right? The ocean in the little drop,
right?
Or the God in the human, right? That is great, that is truly creative, or the creator, right? And you bring that out because you want their best. You need their best. Your job is to locate their best, bring it out, nurture it, and make sure they keep bringing it, right? And be surprised. Like, if they're not surprised by how amazing they are in your presence, then, you know, maybe you're not aware of how great you are yet, right? And bringing that out. And so, I don't know how we got onto that. But
wow, that's deep. And that reminds me of even the birthday song is, if he didn't see that I had more in me, I wouldn't have brought it out.
Exactly.
And to your point, isn't that what we're supposed to do for each other? They say steel sharpens steel, so is another person sharpens another person. That I think that's in almost every interaction of humankind, is that if you're, whether you're in a company trying to deliver a valuable service or a friend just trying to be a friend. It's in every part of life. You know,
it could be, it can be.
Well, we could take it just mildly further and say that if we could give
just mildly,
just mild. It's not going to be mild. This is a radical. I guess this is a radical way of being. But as a leader, can you first put the oxygen mask on yourself with certain ways of being, that you're being with yourself before you're leading anyone else or holding the space. And so we're going to do it later in the afternoon here at FinFit at Inspire. But to us, it's really simple. It's, can you first be generous with self? What does that mean? Can you find one thing you like, love, or accept about how you're showing up to the space? I mean, we're often just waiting to be out in the room with others, hoping we're leading well. No, can you first show up and go, okay, well, what's one thing I like, love, or accept about this moment of myself? How can I be with myself? Same with curiosity. Can we yes and ourselves? When we yes and ourselves first, we're looking, like Isaac said.
Instead of yes, but.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, but. That's right.
And then we can find in someone we're in the space with or leading, we can find the yes and in them, which might mean to agitate their yes, right? It doesn't have to be nice.
Yeah.
But you are looking for something to be like, hey, yes, and what if we, and I'd love to make a request of. See, that's exciting and agitating. That's right. But we're looking for the yes and.
Let me ask you, you mentioned this, and I'd like this to be kind of where we bring some focus to. Your identity. You mentioned identity and you know who you are, and there are so many people, especially I mentor some people and I'm pretty active in our community, and there seems to be a loss of identity. People don't really know who they are. And I'm sure that some people come to you and say, this is who I want to be, but they don't even know who they are, but they know the direction of where they want to be, and then there's this huge gap. And if they just realized who they really are, they're probably closer to what they want to be than they really know.
Yes.
And maybe it's instead of looking right, they just need to look left. Like to your point, there's that little adjustment of where you thought you were going to go to find your true calling. How do you do that in what you do?
You look inward. And I'm going to risk sounding woo here because it's actually directional. It's too late. He loves saying that. It's actually a direction. I love that you said look right, look left. No, look in. Because all the ingredients that make someone themselves, and we mean in business, in life, in passion, in mission, in call, in purpose, in authenticity, in distinction, all happen from the ingredients of here.
So how do you get to the? Because if it is, then you have
that's
to ask.
The ultimate
you
question,
have to ask the
it?
question like, what are you asking yourself then to get those?
And if we dare answer that, then we've crossed the boundary. But we'll try by asking. I mean, the best answer to that is fantastic question. I've heard you. I hear you asking that question. Congratulations, you're alive, right? The greatest philosophers of time have said, know thyself.
That's true.
But they didn't tell you how, right? So each person has a way, and it is by finding what they love, right?
Yes.
So what do you love?
What moves you?
That's a great.
What do you love, right?
What moves you?
What moves you? And let's unpack move. Let's unpack move. Move means a part of your biology. I mean, let's go now more like somatic
almost
science.
cellular,
We're talking, and if we are vibration, cells buzzing, because we are. It's music, after all. Every cell of our cells in our body, in our biology, are waiting to be moved. A lot of people aren't asking what moves me. They're just trying to play along. They're too caught up in, they're too locked up in what they went through in childhood. They're trying to look good, sound good, get along, trying to make life work. When they look back inward and say, okay, what moves me? And you don't have to find it straight away, but you're listening like a litmus test for what moves you. Because when we follow what moves us, just one action, life starts to unfold like a mechanism, right? Yeah. Like it starts to unfold in the direction of a life we love.
Yeah.
So it actually is about being moved. Like we could put on a song, we call it musical cosmology. We could put on a song from your childhood that just met you where you were living, right? You
Instantly
were going through something.
Instant.
We could put it on you just like all your cells go, there's
like a home-cooked meal, just like mum used to make, or dad used to make on the barbie or something, where it's like, well,
let's try it right now. Like
moved.
Everyone watching, including you, Bill, I'll do the same. Like, just remember one thing you ate as a child, which you were like, yes, thanks. I'm so glad it's this tonight. And simply just remember it, imagine it. Now invite it to your lips and just, I'm tasting mum's spinach pie. I don't know why I always do that, but I'm not. What are you tasting? If you
macaroni and cheese.
Okay, so just bring that to your lips.
Yeah. Yeah, my mouth's watering.
And just actually try a hum with us. Just tasting it like you. It doesn't have to. That hum doesn't have to sound good. You don't have to look good, but you just have to be moved by the taste. Try it again.
Yeah.
And then we ask people to just hold that out. Tasting that childhood meal. Suddenly, we're being moved by our own biology.
Aha. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
And just the act, scientifically, like the act of closing the eyes, you're creating alpha brainwaves, which is the relaxed brain, out of beta, out of stress, out of overthinking, into flow state, which we all want to be playing basketball in our lives, right?
Right.
Like shooting that 3-pointer in whatever we're doing.
That's right.
Just in the flow.
Yeah.
In harmony with nature, right? Trusting that God's got our back, however you want to put it, right? And then, when we start humming, we're triggering the vagus nerve, which is this big, long nerve that goes around the ear. So listening triggers it, hearing triggers it, white noise, sound, vibration triggers it, and runs all the way down to our digestive system. So we're kind of just creating this relaxed human. And any leadership position, they don't want someone, they want a relaxed human, like a relaxed, grounded leader. And and so these two things, closing their eyes and humming, have
the radical
powerful, and it's like a biohack, basically. And meditation is hard, right? It's not an easy thing to do, to create habits around, but we find the voice can be an easy kind of biohack for people that have maybe 2 minutes at most
2 minutes
to chill out.
That's interesting. I'm not a hummer. My daughter, she hums all the time, and I love when she's in the house because she's always humming something. But I find it interesting is that music and sports, in my opinion, are the two languages of the soul.
Nice.
Because if you think about it, music any language, it goes beyond it. Any type of even body or person goes beyond it.
Yes.
And what I find interesting is that the same thing with sport. So like, for example, soccer, it's an international sport. You recall football in other countries in America, they call it soccer. When you have that type of engagement into the single part of sport, the international language of victory is hands up. And it's every time you do that, even if you do it like right now, I felt an instant surge of power and excitement.
And this kind of loss of self to the greater, right?
Yes.
Music, we lose the individuality. The individual note becomes harmonious or in relation, right? In right relation, actually, in like harmonious relation. Sport, no one's playing for themselves.
That's right.
Right? That even the stars of the team are being held, in that cadence of the team. Right? So that's why I think the soul loves it, is because we're not in it and alone.
It's awesome.
Which is not true.
That's true. That's exactly right.
I'm own.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, I know we could talk all day. First off, I loved our conversation. I didn't even really get to the questions that I wanted to ask you, but you've referenced many of these things, and I can't wait to hear you with our company, go through your process of finding the voice of inside us, and then even the voice, or we'll call it the song of FinFit Life. So, Isaac, Thorold,
thank you
pleasure.
so much.
It was a wonderful time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. God's best, everybody. Welcome to Fit Talks. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.